Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining me. If you're unfamiliar, I'm Melanie Hill, founder of Stronger Than My Struggles, Crazy Like a Fox Tour, and the CEO of Melanie Hill Enterprise. So every Thursday since the pandemic has started, I've been coming here live on the Stronger Than My Struggles fan page to share writing tips every Thursday at 3 p.m. It's been kind of cool. So I really appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. I appreciate people who have been sharing the videos. I really appreciate those who have been watching them on the replays. I've seen that we've gotten some great feedback, and some of the videos are up to like almost 10,000 views. So I really appreciate you. Thank you. So, like usual, I'm multi-broadcasting right now. So, I'm not only live on the Stronger Than My Struggles page, but I'm live on a few other pages and inside my groups. So, if you want to talk directly to me, you have to comment on the Stronger Than My Struggles fan page so I can see your reply and I'll comment back. Otherwise, I'll comment when I finish. As long as you comment, I'll see your comment somewhere and I'll come back and reply to you. So today, we had another topic in um, set for today, but in light of what's been going on around us, we decided to use a different topic today. So today we're going to talk about journaling to process trauma. So um, it's been pretty hard to be an American with a conscience and a heart in the last maybe month. It's been kind of hard. It's already been hard, for us to deal with the pandemic. So we've been talking about journaling through anxiety and stress and things like that. Just dealing with the pandemic alone is a lot. There are people who are out of work right now, people who are losing their savings, people who kids are home and school isn't going right and graduations aren't happening. And so it's just been a lot to deal with on its own. But in the last month, if you're in the last month, if you're an American with a conscience or a heart, it's not even about race. If you're black, you're probably hurt, angry, traumatized, maybe scared. If you're of European descent, then you're probably nervous, angry, maybe traumatized, maybe worried if you have biracial children, relatives, you know. It's been a lot to process. Social media and traditional media have not made it much easier. Every time we turn around, we're being inundated with news articles, videos, people's opinions and ideas, um, things on replay that no one should have ever had to see to begin with. And so it's been kind of hard. At least for me, I know it's been extremely hard. And I realized the other night, I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and I just hopped on social media in the middle of the night. We just pop on to see what's going on. And there was so much trauma just up and down the timeline. I couldn't go back to sleep. I found myself up writing at 4 in the morning, and I felt a release as I started to process the trauma that I had been holding in and trying to pretend was not affecting me. So today I want to share with you a way to get back to the basics to journal and process trauma. Some things that we see and endure are too hard for us to try to comprehend in any way that makes sense to us. So, trying to explain it to someone or trying to write it down in a way that tells a story or makes sense might not be the easiest thing to do. And sometimes when we feel like we don't know how to do something, we just stop. If I don't know how to explain this, then I'm not going to try. If I don't know how to put this in words, then why try? Why bother myself with bringing up these thoughts and memories that I don't know how to effectively express? I get it. So, this can help you for what we're dealing with now, and this can help you for any unresolved trauma that you have. And what I found is And I'm going to use myself as an example as I go through this process. And I'm going to use what I dealt with this week in my writing, so as I don't have to go back into any personal trauma. Um, but what I found is that going back to the basics, the thing that we were taught very, very young in school, the who, what, when, where, how, sometimes why, right? It sounds really simple, but it really isn't. It gives us an opportunity to look at everything that's affecting us piece by piece and to not try to jumble it all into one big, this is what's going on, right? So the first thing is to ask yourself who is bothering me? Who is affecting me? Is it one person? Is it a group? Is it a place that I go to? Like, so in my journaling experience recently, for me, it was a group. So I singled out who? The police, um, law enforcement officials, and white people who feel like they have authority. They were the who's. Like, I have recently been traumatized by the police, law enforcement, and that doesn't mean a police officer. It means someone that's employed by the police, because there have been officials and people who work for law enforcement offices that aren't actual officers that have been saying crazy things on some of these social media posts, right? And when I say white people that feel that they have authority over black people, I speak specifically of the Ahmaud Arbery case. In the last month, we've seen four um, unarmed, well, I believe they said Sean Reed was armed, but I think he was in the middle of a mental health crisis. So we've seen Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Sean Reed, and Ahmaud Arbery's um, deaths play out in the news. Three of them came with live video that we didn't need to see, you know. So for me, when I say white people who feel like they have authority, I'm speaking of the three white men who stopped Ahmaud while he was jogging because they felt that they had authority to ask why he was in that community. What? So, in my journaling experience, the what is traumatizing me? Seeing so many deaths play out in front of me. I don't care if they were black people or white people. I don't want to see death. I have personally witnessed the murder. So I don't need to relive that part of my life, nor to have to see someone else die. I can't watch the murder videos. I can't watch someone's last breath. I don't want to. I don't want to hear their dying words. It's hard enough to see them replayed on the news as people talk about them or to hear the conversations. So for me, the what is constantly being bombarded with death, constantly having to see and hear about people's last moments. It has been triggering and traumatizing for me. When? In the last month has been extremely hard for me because it's been back to back. So when you talk a month, you're talking 4 weeks. And in the last month, I've seen four black deaths that have become national news, publicized. And that's not to say that they're only the four people that have died. I mean, hell, I live in Baltimore. I think this weekend we had seven shootings or seven murders, but I don't have to see them all over the news. I don't have to see their last moments. It's not something that's being replayed and talked about over and over and over again to where it's taking over my social media timeline. So in the last month, it's been extremely hard to deal with all of the deaths already because I live in a city like Baltimore where there can be seven murders over the weekend. you know like I'm inundated with death, and it's not like I'm just getting it all on my local news station where I can choose to turn it off. It's becoming so much of a national crisis that it's all over everywhere, and it's triggering and it's traumatizing, and I don't want to see it. I find myself moving away from the television more and watching things that I can control, like streaming TV. I find myself not being on social media as much. Why? Why is this so traumatizing to me? You know, again, I witnessed a murder. It is, I never want to have to see someone take their last breath again. I never want to hear someone's dying words, you know. Um, it's been extremely hard. And so to ask myself, why? Why does this trigger me so much? Why do I allow myself to watch the news? Like, why do I not block out certain people who are saying things on social media? Like, why am I allowing myself to be triggered at this point? Because I have to remain in control of myself no matter what's going on around me. I have to remain in control. So I have to get to that why. How? How can I mitigate my exposure to this? How can I deal with how I feel with what I'm seeing? How can I um, do some self care while I'm avoiding all of these things? So it's like, how can I mitigate this damage? As I said, I've been avoiding watching television, like only watching things that I control. If I'm on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, I'm controlling what I see. There's nothing breaking in to show me things that I don't want to see. And I can control the fact that I want to watch comedy all day because there's enough drama going on around me. And I don't want to see any horror or hear a gunshot. So I'm just going to watch these cartoons. Or I'm just going to watch this sitcom where I know that only good things happen. And at the end of the half an hour, it's going to wrap up in a happy bow. I have that choice, you know. Um, how can I do self care around this? I know that instead of watching the news, I could read a book. I can go outside, get some air. I can choose to tell people that I won't engage in conversations about things that are triggering to me. I have that option. You know, sometimes it's so hard to process things. But when I sat down and I broke down the who, what, when, where, how, and why, I felt so much better because I wasn't angry at the world. I knew where to direct my anger. I knew how to stop when I started to feel overwhelmed. I knew how to mitigate that damage. I knew that, oh, I've taken in way too much news today. It's time to turn the TV off and turn the music on. You know, it's time to dance. It's time to get outside and get some air. It's time to, do a crossword puzzle. It's time to call a friend and see how their day is going. And if they start to talk about things that are triggering and traumatizing for me, it's time to get off the phone. I have those options. We have to look at all of the things objectively and to look at them piece by piece and not push them all together into one big story, into one big problem, you know? But to look at each part of why you're frustrated, what you're traumatized about, what's hurting you, um, what's triggering you, and to look at how you can mitigate that damage. Going back to the simple basics of who, what, when, where, why, and how allows you to ask yourself multiple questions about the situation that you're dealing with. Sometimes we just keep asking one question, like, why is this happening to me? How am I going to get through this? Why would they do that? When is it going to stop? We keep asking questions outside of us of things that we have no control of. But when we get down to the basics, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how, it allows us to stop and see different solutions. If you know who your who is triggering to you, then you know who to stay away from. You know who you don't need to be in contact with. You know who number you need to block in your phone. You know who you need to set boundaries with. That who is so important. If you know what is triggering to you, you know how to set a boundary. You know how to say, hey, I really like when you do this, but when you do this, it makes me feel ABC. And I don't like feeling ABC. When you know what that what is, you can say, hey, yeah, see, I went over there before. And when I went over there, I didn't like what happened over there. So I don't go over there anymore. When you know what that what is, you can say, I don't want to do that because that doesn't work for me. It's as simple as saying, I already been there and I know that I don't like the outcome. No, thank you. When you know when, like for me, I can't hang out with men at night. I have a mental illness that causes me to go to sleep and wake up a whole new me. And men take advantage of that. I know that I am good all during the daytime. Sun up, as long as I am wide awake, I am good. But trigger, let me have a man around me at night and he reach for me the wrong way, do something. Oh, I get triggered real quick. So my win, nighttime, you can't be around me. When it comes to me spending time with a man I don't know, I already know that that makes me uncomfortable. So no, I only spend time with men I don't know, with having somebody comfortable I'm comfortable with me. You know, when I'm in big groups of strangers, I hate being in big groups of strangers. I know that it's triggering some of my anxiety. So I always try to ask somebody to go with me. And if they can't, then I set myself a plan that I know that every 45 minutes or so, I'm going to go find me a corner to go sit in. It might be 30 minutes. But I know that I'm going to get away from people and go reset myself. I know that I'm going to take my headphones with me. So even if I'm in a room full of people, I can zone out. If I know that when, I know how to counter it and how to prepare, you know. That how is just as important because asking how can I deal with all of that, who, what, when, where? Oh, that's important. How can I mitigate? How can I deal with this? How can I set these boundaries? How can I let these people know that it is not going down like this? How can I nicely say, fuck you and no thank you? How can I make sure this never happens to me again? How can I make sure that I never am in this position again? How can I protect myself for the next time? These questions are important. And sometimes we get so caught up in that one big question that we forget to get back to the basics and break it down. So I want you to remember, that who, what, when, where, how, why. It's just as important as telling any story as telling the story of you and what's triggering you, what's bothering you, what's traumatizing you. Your story is inside those simple questions. Don't be afraid to ask yourself and be honest with yourself. You're journaling. No one has to read it. No one else will know, but you should know. You know, my journaling turned into an amazing article. I ended up writing an article that I shared publicly because once I got through realizing what had triggered me, what was so traumatizing, I realized that it was probably something that a lot of people were probably dealing with. I knew it wasn't an isolated thing, that I was traumatized by something that was affecting a lot of people around me. And so I wanted to share so that maybe other people could find some peace. Your journaling might be private. You may find that you create something like me that's meant to be shared. But getting back to the basics, it will help you so much. Sometimes we make things too complicated. We want everything to come together at once. But many things in life are like a puzzle. You have to take the pieces and connect them. I want you to be kind to yourself, to give yourself some grace, have some patience. Remember, it's okay to get back to the basics sometimes. I'm Melanie Hill. I'll be back next Thursday at 3 p.m. And I want you to remember that I'm stronger than my struggles, and you are too. See you next time.